Hey guys, it's Dr. Hayes again, and I'm here to make the second half of the timeline video for the picture books. And I'm sorry if the video might be a little bit grainy. I'm working against the light. I don't have as much light in here. It looks grainy on my end. Hopefully it's not grainy on your end. But if so, sorry. I hope you can still see the books. Also, I wanted to show you all my cute t-shirt. It's Winnie the Pooh, but as real animals. See Eeyore and Ticker and Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and Owl. I just love it. There's no rabbit on here, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. But anyway, I thought I'd show y'all my cute shirt that I wore just for y'all. So this video is going to go very similar to the last video where I went through just some of the picture books published since 1970-ish up until now, so you can see sort of how they've progressed and what some of the award winners look like and how the styles have changed. And so I wanted you to kind of see a progression of a timeline throughout there. And I have a couple honorable mentions too. I don't own all of the Caldecott winners, so I wasn't able to get every single one from every single year, but just a sampling of the honor books and the Caldecott winner the medals and the honors throughout the last few decades. You can kind of see a progression. And I've included some very important books that are generational, as we talked about in the Discord today, that have stood the test of time, even though they didn't really win necessarily any big awards or anything. They still were commercially very successful, so they belong, I guess, in our conversation. So the first book I'm going to talk about, actually I said I was going to start in 1970, but there's one more book from 1969. We ended off with The Hungry Caterpillar, which was 1969. That's where we ended the last video, but I found another one that I do own, the actual winner, the Caldecott winner from that year, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. I found that I had this. It's about a family of donkeys. Pretty straightforward. It's just very funny. It looks like an elementary school student could have drawn this, and it was the Caldecott winner that year when Hungry Caterpillar came out. I just wanted to mention that because I think that's very funny that's the one that won over Hungry Caterpillar. Okay, so in 1970, we have another Maurice Sendak in the Night Kitchen. This book is hella weird. I don't know how any other way to put it, but I mean, Where the Wild Things Are is very weird as well. But I wanted to show you this and a couple of the others that Maurice Sendak did, because his illustration style is so different. Every single book, he's not like, oh, that's a Maurice Sendak, like you can recognize it. Pretty much every book he did had a completely different style, and so I thought I would show you. This is completely different from Where the Wild Things Are. The way that it's drawn, some of the, let me see if I can, oh, like here, okay, here's a good example. Even the font is interesting and weird. So it's about this little boy who has a dream, you know, he went and visited these big chefs and they cooked him in their dish, and he was covered in dough, and he's falling, and he's flying like a dough plane. But here we go. Here's one where he goes into the milk and all the dough falls off. He's got a little peen right there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little baby peen in the book, and that's not the only shot. Like, he's pretty much naked the rest of the book, and as he's going through, you know, it's very Wild Things, where he goes on this adventure at night, and so you can see has this sort of adventure that he goes on, but eventually he gets over it and he's done with his adventure, and he ends up sliding back into bed and waking up in his bed, right? So it's very Wild Things, but it's another just sort of interesting. This was the Caldecott Honor book, like the runner-up for that year, 1970. Just a couple other Maurice Sendak, so you can see what I mean. He didn't write this one, but he did the illustrations. The Swine Lake instead of Swan Lake, I guess. It's kind of this cartoony, garish style. You can kind of see it's a little bit similar to In the Night Kitchen, but not quite. So that's kind of the style that this one is drawn in. Then you have something completely different outside over there, which is more of a realistic art style, with just these sort of realistic paintings, more of a high art. Here's a good example. More naked babies in this one. This is about sort of a baby that was stolen. It was the Caldecott Honor. What year was this? 1981. This is the Caldecott Honor for that year. Jumanji won the medal this year, 1981. We'll get to that in a little bit. This is another one he wrote. This was the last one he did, Bumble Artie. And it's kind of similar to Swine Lake, but not quite. But anyway, those are just a few of the Maurice Sendak I have that show you. All of his books were so different. But we're going to move on. So, also in the year 1970, it was a big year for picture books, where The Frog and Toad, Arnold Lobel's Frog and Toad books sort of premiered, was in 1970, about a little pair of friends. Arnold Lobel also came out as homosexual in his adulthood, and so a lot of critics have gone back and sort of looked through these books, The Frog and Toad, for hints of sort of homosexual connection between them. If nothing else, homosocial, like we talked about with Wind in the Willows, where it's all men characters and they live together, and Mole and Rat are essentially on a date at the beginning of the book when they go out with their picnic and the boat and everything. So Frog and Toad have sort of a similar vibe. But those are very famous characters, Frog and Toad. 1971, this is the book I was wanting to tell you about that makes specific and intentional use of the page turn. The page turn technique that we were talking about. Some of you probably have read this book, the monster theme of this book. It's about the Grover character from Sesame Street. This one I have is a little golden book version. I think they all are. I think this started as a little golden book. But this is a book that knows it's a book, right? The monster is afraid to turn the page because there's a monster at the end of the book. And so this book sort of makes the page turn part of the experience. And he keeps trying to get you not to turn the page. Be quiet, don't turn the page. Please don't turn the page, it says. And then you turn, he's like, you turned the page! And he's all upset. So it's a whole thing of like the page turn. So he tries to put ropes so you can't turn the page. So it becomes a thing where the kid's like, I'm gonna turn it. Or the person reading them is like, stop turning pages. And so little kids find it funny when an adult's telling them not to do something, and if it's like in jest, they do it anyway to get a laugh. And so he builds a wall, like a wood thing. He builds a brick wall to try to get you from being able to turn the page. And the page turn knocks down the wall. He says, do you know that you are very strong? I like that. And so he's really scared about what's going to be at the end of the book. And the page is kind of represented on the page, right? And so, spoiler alert, you find out the monster theme of the book is him all along, and there was nothing to be afraid of. But this is one of the first books that really acknowledges that it's a book. Like, the pages are referred to. The reader is being addressed directly. Like, you are in charge of this experience. The reader, you are in charge of the story. If you don't turn the page, I don't have anything to be afraid of. He's saying that. I don't have anything to be afraid of. My fate as a character is in your hands. And here you go, you're proceeding all callous. You don't care if I'm scared or not. It's in kind of a jesting way. But there's that reassurance at the end that everything's really okay. There really isn't anything to be afraid of. But the page turn is acknowledged directly in this book, which I just think is done geniusly. 1972. Let's talk about George and Martha. Has anyone ever heard of George and Martha? I don't know what to make of this book, but George and Martha, there are several, like if you look on the back, there's like a collection of several stories of theirs. James Marshall was the author. It's a short story collection. So it's little vignettes. There's this one has 5 stories in it. Some of the stories are only a couple pages long. And they're just kind of inexplicable as far as what their purpose is. But it's these 2 hippopotamus characters. I was getting one to read. Oh, The Tub. Story number 3, The Tub. I'm going to read the whole thing to you. And we're going to have story time. George was fond of peeking in windows. There he is, peeking in windows. One day, George peeked in on Martha. She's in the tub. Ruh-roh. He never did that again. "We are friends," said Martha, "but there is such a thing as privacy." She flips the tub out onto his head. The end. That's the whole story. He's peeking in the window at her in the tub. There's such a thing as privacy. He never did that again. I don't know. This is just so funny. But I have some friends who are like older than me, like in their 40s and 50s, who are like, "Oh yeah, I love that when I was growing up," you know, and this, because I was born in 81. This was 72, so it was before my time. So people who were kids like a decade before me remember that, growing up with it. That same year was another book that you probably have read, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. This, you might not have realized how old this was. This is from 1972 as well. And it's just about this little boy who has just the worst day ever. They've made a movie about it recently. But something significant about this book at the end is that it's not resolved. The day is not fixed. It's still a horrible day when he goes to bed. He doesn't just get a hug and it's okay. He said, "It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that." So it really sort of teaches coping mechanisms and sort of dealing with, there are some days just suck and you just have to go to bed and start over kind of thing. They don't make it all better by the end of the book, which I think is real psychologically significant. 1974, we already had a presentation about this, but that's when the Berenstain Bears started, 1974. I'm not going to go too much into detail about that because we already had a presentation. This wasn't even the first one, but it's just the one I picked off my shelf because I already had it pulled out. But the Berenstain Bears was the first one in 1974. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. 1977, I don't know, have you read this book, Miss Nelson is Missing? This is the book where their teacher, their really sweet, nice teacher, goes missing. Because they're misbehaving, right? And so the kids are all being really bad. And so Miss Nelson, they were very rude to her and she was upset. So she comes up with a plan. And so Miss Nelson was missing and instead shows up Miss Swamp. And she's all like, and she whips them into shape. And so they miss Miss Nelson so bad and they're so worried about what happened to her. So when she finally comes back, they're so nice and they smile pretty for their picture and they listen in story time. And then the twist, spoiler alert again, is the end. When you look in Miss Nelson's room, there's a wig box in her closet and a black dress hanging there, and there's some makeup and stuff where it really was her all along, coming in, being mean, and showing them kind of a grass is greener on the other side kind of a scenario. I just included that book because I read that a bunch growing up, and I just thought that was just the craziest, but I just remember that fondly from childhood, so I just threw that one in there. 1978, the next year, a biggie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It didn't win any kind of award or anything. Surprisingly, I just thought that this book was beautifully drawn. I've read it probably 800 times, if not more. I loved seeing all the food and especially when the food got giant. I just think it's just wonderfully drawn and done. Even the way the text is interweaved is pleasing. And how it sort of fades off into the end where the sunset looks like mashed potatoes with butter. I just absolutely love this book, and it is undeniably a classic. But I don't have the winner for that year. But the honor book, the honor book for that year was this book, Freight Train. Very sort of it's like a colors book. This was the Caldecott Honor. I don't remember what the winner was from that year. It's one that we don't even think of or know. I looked up the list a while ago and I was like, I never even heard of that. I've already forgotten it. But this was the honor. So sometimes the award, I showed you this to show you, sometimes the Caldecott is inexplicable in what they've chosen. The American Library Association, the ALA, they choose all these awards, the Newbery, the Caldecott, and the Coretta Scott King Award, which is awards African American lit, the Prince Award, which is for teen lit. The American Library Association does all these, and so sometimes it's just kind of weird what they choose. The next year, 1979, I have a couple of there was a couple honor books that year. So one of them was this one, another sort of minimalist design, Ben's Trumpet, which was kind of, it's about a jazz, and so it has this sort of monochromatic, really pretty, a lot more pleasing than the train one, but a lot of interesting things, but a little bit more minimalist and simplistic in its design. So Ben's Trumpet, that was the honor for 79, one of the honors. And then the other one was the Garden of Abdul Ghazazi, which we had a presentation about Chris Van Allsburg. But I forgot to bring any of my books, so I wanted to bring this and show you. This is very much Chris Van Allsburg's style. These high detail graphite drawings. Like, that's his style. That's what he's known for. And this was his first one. It was an honor book. So 2 years later, in 1981, is when Jumanji came out. Also, Chris Van Allsburg, he won the medal for this one, which it was deserved. The drawings are insane. Here's the monkeys in the kitchen. That's like pencil. It's like pencil graphite drawing. He is so stupid talented. Here's them playing the game. So the original, like the movie with Robin Williams, was based off of this book, where they're playing the game in the kitchen or in the house, and all the stuff starts, coming through. That's what the movie was based on this, the winner from 1981. I have another book. I mentioned Molly Bang in the Discord chat today, so I want to say this is one of hers, 1098. She is not black, but she wrote this counting book featuring this this black family, and it was just sort of really well respected. It was the honor book from 1983, and I happen to have it, so I thought I would show you what Molly Bang. I have another Molly Bang here in the list as well, but that was one of them. 1985 was a big year. 1985, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, was the first entry in this series, the If You Give a series. Laura Numeroff, Felicia Bond was the illustrator for those. I just think, and it's all colored pencil. I don't know if you can tell. You've seen these books before, but they're done with colored pencil. And there's so many of them. If you give a pig a pancake, and if you give a pig a party, and if you give a moose a muffin, and if you give a dog a donut, and if you give a cat a cupcake, and there's like so many of these now. Oh, that's a sticker section. This one is like a special edition that has stickers with it. But yeah, so 1985 is when the If You Give a series started. And I don't have as many toys for this one, but I do have this little guy, the mouse, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. There's several if you take a mouse to the movies, and there's like Christmas ones and stuff that were featuring the mouse. But I do have him. He's one of my favorites. Okay. 1985, if that weren't enough, we also got the Polar Express. Was in 1985. It was the winner for that year. We're all, I'm sure, very familiar with the Polar Express. This is also Chris Van Allsburg. This is his third item on our list, just for this time. But this one was in color. So before this, he was sort of known for his graphite drawings. This one was in color. It looks like it's maybe some pastels or something, maybe some paints. But it's a lot softer, a lot less harsh of a style than the Garden of Abdul Ghazazi and Jumanji were. Let's see. 1986 was another biggie. We're in my childhood. I was born in 1981. So from now on, these are books that came out when I was growing up. But 1986, the Magic School Bus series started. This was the first one at the Waterworks. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Magic School Bus. They make shows out of it. There's lots of books and, little shows. Well, the Magic School Bus is, the Mrs. Frizzle, the teacher, and her bus is magic, and it can take the students to all these different locations. It can make them really small, and they go in the digestive system, and they can go into space, and they can go back in time to dinosaurs, and basically it just does whatever it needs to do. And I don't know if you ever noticed when you're reading these, but the classroom space changes and alters, the decoration and the supplies in the classroom change based on the lesson that's being taught for that time, which I don't know about you and some of you teachers, future teachers, that would be amazing to be able to have your classroom just magically redecorate itself for whatever theme of lesson you were doing at the time. So I was really interested in grad school in sort of like educational spaces, like classroom spaces, schoolhouses, boarding schools, just the spaces where education takes place. And Magic School Bus for me is sort of a big player in that field of scholarship. Is how are the educational places depicted? But Magic School Bus, it was huge franchise. 1986, 1987. I have a few sort of winners, I guess, in a row from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Al Moon was the medal winner in 87. It's very pretty. Let me get to some of the illustrations so you can see. This is where we were talking about. I was talking about, there's kind of a rash of like really high art. This sort of really fancy, a little bit more not as cartoony, but a little bit more realistic. This is the winner from 87. Then I have, this isn't the winner, but 1989, The Mitten was a classic picture book. Many people put it on like their top lists of favorite picture books of all time, and it's very sort of classically illustrated with these sort of filigree and around the borders and like realistic animals and stuff. So I wanted to include it. That was 1989, just because it indicates the style of the time. 1990, Lon Popo. I think we talked about this. No, we didn't talk about this. This is a fairy tale retelling of Little Red Riding Hood from China, and because you can see there's a wolf, and it's a little bit more abstract, a little bit dark for children, a little bit scary, but yeah, that was the winner from 1990. The winner from 91 was this one called Tuesday, David Weisner, and you can kind of see the illustration style is very sort of elaborate, and there are people who would probably put this on their wall, like these frogs, floating on lily pads over the city. I don't know, Rose, I'm thinking of you for some reason. That seems like something you would like, that image, that visual. But this was the winner from 1991. Let's see, 1992. Then I wanted to show you those in a row. Those were all sort of just beautiful, eerie art, weird, very detailed, but just not cartoony, I guess is my point. It's not the cartoony of the first book I showed you with the donkeys, right? It's not this cartoony look. This very like artistic, creative flair. And then I feel like we went backwards a little bit. In 1992 was The Rainbow Fish. I'm sure you've encountered this book before, and it's kind of sparkly. There's like glitter in the thing, and there's this rainbow fish who has these glittery scales. So if you'd like to indoctrinate your children into how socialism works, this might be a good book to get them, right? Sorry to ruin it if this is one of your favorite books, but you have this fish who has so many scales that are shiny, and then you have all of these friends of his who don't have any. Let's see, he's trying to get to the part where like all of his friends are like, give me some of your scales, right? Well, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to give them his scales, and so his solution is that this is him. If you notice, they all have a little bit of a one scale each, right? They all have one scale each. So it's like basically spread the wealth, where instead of him having all of it and each one of them having one, he gives them each one, and he has one, and so they all can have an equal amount, instead of him having it all and they have none. So the indication is, hey, everybody give everything that you have, and then we'll redistribute it so everybody's equal. It's basically socialism in a picture book. So that's interesting. let's see. Oh, that was the medal winner that year. The honor book that year, which I think is a travesty, because this is one of my favorite books, is The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. So The Stinky Cheese Man is very much like the monster at the end of this book. Like, it knows it's a book, and this one's signed. I took Echo to meet John Sheska, who's the author of this book, and like, it knows it's a book. Like, it starts in the end pages, and the title page is in there. It's got called title page. The introduction is upside down, or the dedication is upside down. And so it has all, it knows it's a book. I could do a whole video just on The Stinky Cheese Man, so I won't do that. But it sort of teaches children how to read books, because we have the end pages in the beginning where Jack is like, you can't start your story here. This is the end pages, right? This is the end paper. And we are shown what it looks like. It's like the stinky cheese stuff. Then at the end, he's trying to trick the giant, and it says the end. And then, so it's like, shh, we can trick him and it's over. The end, right? Oh, wait, and it's over here. Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, he's trying to get him to go to sleep. Here we go. He's saying if we could say the end, and then he puts this. We know from the beginning, this is what an end paper looks like, right? Because we're told at the beginning this is an end paper. And then he's like, shh, I put the end paper up here so the giant will think the book is over. So if we can just very quietly turn the page, here's another acknowledgement of a page turn, and then the little hen is like, rah, 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 and wakes him up, and he's in danger. So it's like that he uses the elements of the book as part of the design and part of the narrative of the main character, uses the elements of the book, the end paper and things like that to like drive the story forward. I just think this book is absolutely genius. And I have a little Stinky Cheese Man. Isn't he so cute? Stinky Cheese Man is like the gingerbread man, but he's the Stinky Cheese Man. His story's like the gingerbread man. And so this is a puppet. It's got little holes, and so he can like run. Isn't that cute? Just like the gingerbread man, but it's a Stinky Cheese Man. I just love that. And the fact that when we met John Sheska, he was super nice to us, and he took pictures with Echo, and he signed all her books, and it was really nice. So I'll be a fan for life of his. Okay, 1993, this is one we accidentally talked about in the chat today, because Marcella meant to say Giving Tree, and she said Kissing Hand instead. But Kissing Hand came out in 1993, and it was sort of this reassuring kids who have to go to school that they're going to be okay. So he's going to school, and she's like puts a kiss in his hand and has him put it onto his cheek, and so if it put it on his face, so that's like her kiss is in his hand. It's very, very sweet. But that came out in 1993. The medal winner. Oh wait, sorry. There was a sequel, Pocket Full of Kisses, that also, let's see, when did that one come out? The other one was 1993. This was 2004, so it came out much later. But it was a sequel, the same author and the same little family, and so there were several. There was others in the family, but those are very sweet. The winner for that year was Mirette on a High Wire. Probably most people have forgotten about this one. The Kissing Hand was much more popular from that year. But I wanted to show you, this is a little bit more of the high art style from that year. Mirette on a High Wire, 1993. But this was the one that won whenever the Kissing Hand came out. Okay, I'm going to skip a few years and go to the winner from 1997, which was Golem. This one I wanted to show you because it's done with paper. So the whole thing, let me get the glare off of here. It's paper laid out, and they took a picture of the paper. The Golem is a Jewish story where there's a clay figure that is imbued with life by a rabbi, and who's a protector whenever the people are in danger. But all of this, I don't know if you can tell, it's all, that's lightning going into the golem. It's all cut paper that's laid out in layers and then photographed. It's just gorgeous. Let's see, here's a good one. You can kind of see the golem character. Yeah, and it's all layers of paper, cut paper. Just absolutely gorgeous. That was from 1997. So 1999 is another Molly Bang. And I wanted to show you this one because it's called Sophie Gets Angry. When Sophie Gets Angry, really, really angry. And it's from, like I said, 1999. It was the Caldecott Honor book this year. But I told you on the chat that Molly Bang is kind of known for color theory and analyzing color theory in picture books. Shapes and color are kind of the big things, like classical art techniques. So I wanted to show you this one to show you an example of how she uses color in her books to create narrative. So this is about a child who throws a temper tantrum, and very much like Max and Where the Wild Things Are, has to go off and process their feelings before they can come back and rejoin their family in a civilized, acceptable way. And their family accepts them back in. So the plot of this is very similar to Where the Wild Things Are, but it's a little girl, and there's not like a fantasy element. She just has to go outside and sit in her favorite tree and think her thoughts and get over it. So she's having this tantrum, and notice how the outline of everything, sorry I keep using my bird finger, the outline of everything is red. Like there's red around her. See over here, she's outlined in red. Everything is red, like hot colors, reds and purples and oranges. And see, she's throwing her temper tantrum. There's red around everything. She explodes. So then she storms out the door. You can see the door here. She storms out. She has to go outside and have a think. And so all around the edges of the flowers and trees are orange and red and dark angry colors. Everything, they're all outlined in orange and red. I hope you can see that on the video. So then she cried for a little while. And the outlines of these aren't necessarily red, but they're hot pink. They're like fuchsia and orange. Then, as she sees nature, she sees a bird, and she's looking at the bird, and she's kind of forgetting why she was upset. Then everything starts to cool down a little bit. You have purple outlines and some blue, a little bit here. It's still a little bit raged up, but it's not quite so bad. It's more purple than it is pink and red. Then this is a great page because when we start on this side of the page, we're still sort of a lavender purple, but as we go through and she's experiencing nature, she's realizing, that the world is bigger than she is and things are not as bad as they seem. By the time we get to the page turn, things are cool, blue and green and, a much more pale color. And by the time it's time for the page turn. So then whenever she's looking at the water and she's sitting in her favorite tree and she's thinking, this page is very cool, right? Blues and green, so it's very soothing. She's calmed down. Her world is not surrounded by red and rage and orange and fire and all that. It's more soothing. She has been soothed, right? So once she's able to experience that soothing sensation, it says the wide world comforts her, it says. So she gets down over her tree. At this point, by the time she's ready to go home, everything is surrounded with green. All of the borders of all the tree and leaves and everything are green. So she's sort of regulated. She's completely cooled down. She's completely sort of normalized. So then, as she's heading home, we get a different color. Everything starts being surrounded by yellows, like pale yellows, which yellow in color theory is a happy color. It's a elevated mood. It's, sunshine is happy. Yellow, yellow is considered to be a positive emotion. And so when she gets home, she's like, I'm home, and her family's happy to see her. They aren't upset that she's angry. They're not upset that she stormed out. They are happy to see her happy, right? And so they are all outlined in yellow. right, that illustrates their mood. They're happy to see her. And she's outlined in yellow. At the beginning, she was outlined in red because she was upset. But as she started to calm down, she was like red, and then pink, and then purple, and then dark blue, and then light blue, and then finally green to kind of cool down. And then now she's yellow because she's happy again. I just absolutely love, here's another one. I love this book as it, the sort of emotional recognition of a child's moods, of how she kind of goes through this self-coping, self-soothing process of acknowledging her feelings, giving time, and her family acknowledges the need for that too, and gives her time to cool down, and gives her time to come to terms with her feelings before they try to incorporate her back into their activities. So that's a great example of Molly Bang's like color theory and use, and the use of lines and things. I wanted to show you that because I think she does it masterfully in that book. In 2000, another very well-known series came out, the Click Clack Moo, Cows That Type. There's a lot of Click Clack Moo books now that are themed like with different holidays and different topics, but this was the first one in 2000, Click Clack Moo. I just wanted to mention it because it's a big series. It was also the Caldecott Honor book for 2000. It's a lot more cartoony. Look at the style. It's a very cartoony style, which Molly Meg's when Sophie gets angry is also kind of cartoony, but a little bit more artsy, like modern art cartoony. This is just cartoony. So, I don't make of that what you will. I just wanted you to see sort of the fluctuations and phases that picture book tastes go through as they are created. Then in 2002 was Zathura, which was also Chris Van Allsburg. It's basically Jumanji in space.
Did you see it?
They made a movie about it.
Zathura?
Yes, I'm making a video. It's basically Jumanji in space is what it is. Sorry about my child. But it didn't win any awards that year or anything. But I just wanted to show you because we've had Chris Van Allsburg on here a lot, and this was one of his more recent ones, 2002. 2003 is when the Mo Willems books started. The Pigeon on the School Bus, or the Pigeon on the Bus, or something, was one of the first ones. This isn't it. This is The Pigeon Needs a Bath. It's not the first one, but it's one I had, and so I grabbed it. But Mo Willems has the pigeon characters, and he also has, there's like a little elephant character that he has. I don't know if you saw recently on Facebook, there was an article going around that Mo Willems is doing live Draw With Me Google, I think it's a Google Hangout, like, lunchtime doodles or something Mo Willems is doing now that a lot of students are home, having to be homeschooled because of the coronavirus. So he's having like a Draw With Me lunchtime every day, or maybe a couple times a week. I didn't look at it, but that's pretty cool. But some of you guys might have grown up with Mo Willems in school because he was kind of coming out at the right time. Then in 2004, I ordered this book specifically because Rose did a presentation on it. I ordered a copy of Kitten's First Full Moon, which was the winner. I think it was given it came out in 2004, but it got the 2005 Caldecott medal. That's how it works. Like, you get the medal awarded at the beginning of the year after you were published, kind of like the Oscars. But Kitten's First Full Moon, I ordered it so we could see it since we didn't have a copy. But this is like what the art style looks like inside. It just came yesterday or the day before. I don't know. So it's brand new. I haven't had a chance to really look through it, but it's super cute. I really like the art style in it. And this edition has, oh, that's sweet. It has a special Easter egg because I ordered, one of the options on Amazon was to get a used copy. And I don't mind getting used copies whenever I can, because I would buy a used copy at a used bookstore, and I don't mind if it's in good condition. I always like buying used copies at consignment sales and garage sales and stuff like that. So I had ordered a used copy off Amazon, and so this one, Happy Birthday Kyle, April of 2005. Love Grandma and Grandpa Kramer. Like, Kyle really loved this book apparently because now it's for sale and from a used bookstore on Amazon. So I was like, oh no, when I saw this. But, that was 15 years ago. So maybe Kyle is an adult and he doesn't collect picture books like I do as a grown adult, and so he took his old books to a used bookstore. Who knows? And that's perfectly fine. But I was like, oh, God, neat. I got Kyle's birthday book in the mail. So that was 2004. 2008, I'm skipping ahead because I don't have any books in between then. 2008, the Caldecott winner was weird. It was The Invention of Hugo Cabret, which there was a movie that they made from this a few years ago called Hugo. They made of it, but this is, you'd think, Dr. Hayes, are you sure that's not the Newbery? We're looking at picture books. This does count as a picture book because the whole thing is full. Some of it's like several pages in a row that are illustrated, and then there'll be some text. But then there are more pages with pictures than there are with text all throughout. It's just a gorgeous book with these like sort of pencil graphite drawings all throughout. And so, as you can see, it's more of the pages have pictures than they do text. So, yeah, you can be really impressive because you can read this book like really fast, and it looks like you've read a big thick book really fast. But that's because most of the pages don't have pictures on them. I also just found a string cheese wrapper that there was being used as a bookmark inside. That fell out into my lap. That's funny. I'll put that back in there. Okay. 2011, I have the winter book, A Sick Day for Amos McGee, which is a little bit more of the sort of intricate, strange, but also artistic art style, kind of like David Weisner's art style, which is strange but very detailed. So this was the winner in 2011. That's the last winner I have. I looked up the list of Caldecott winners since then. I was like, I don't recognize any of these, and so I don't know what was happening, but I do have a few more books to show. 2013 was The Day the Crayons Quit. I don't know if you've seen this book. Also, my computer's about to die, so if the video cuts off abruptly, it's because my computer died. Hopefully that doesn't happen. This is a really cute book that came out in 2013. And then Echo's favorite picture book growing up was Zombie in Love, with this zombie character Mortimer, and he's trying to find a date to Cupid's ball, and he can't find one. Yeah, the first page says Mortimer was lonely. So it's this really cute zombie picture book. And then lastly, I got this for Christmas last year, but it's a Die Hard picture book. But I wanted to show because this is not for kids. Like, it's the story of Die Hard, but in like the poem of like Night Before Christmas. And so it's in that sort of cadence, and it has like blood in it. Like it's not really for kids. It's super violent and bloody. And so at the end, and it has a bad word in it, so I'm going to say a bad word, but it says, bearer bonds fluttered like fresh fallen snow as Holly embraced her blood-spattered beau. So Merry Christmas to all, be kind to one another, and most of all, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Like from the movie. So this is definitely not a kid's book, but it is a picture book, so it parodies the style. So I think that's all I'm going to share for picture books right now. There is a whole strand of picture books that I have. I collect picture books by famous people, like actors and actresses. I have some picture books by Madonna and like Nathan Lane, Perez Hilton, Mario Lopez. There's all these like famous people who make picture books. But I won't show those. But in the Discord, next time we can talk about some of these books and other ones that you think of that are your favorites. But until then, I will see y'all later. Bye.